All right, so we are going to start on chapter 6 of Row the Boat. And this is the part where he explains Row the Boat. Up until now, he's been explaining what it did for him. Now he's explaining the whole theory behind Row the Boat. So if this is the first time you've been on, good time to hit it, yes. And if it's not, this is what we've been waiting for, guys. So I will read. Stop me at any time if you have something to say or have a question or just want to do some input. So, okay. The ore. The ore is the energy of your life, your mission and your purpose. It is the symbol of strength in the row the boat culture. You choose whether your ore is in the water or whether you take it out and decide not to use it. Whether it's windy, raining, or stormy, or a calm, beautiful, sunny day, you decide to row or not. The oar is the only tool that moves the boat. This isn't a sailboat or a motorboat. Without the oar, the boat does not move forward. You are the captain of your boat. You dictate to where and how fast you go. If you stop rowing, your life comes to a standstill. Just as the oar needs to be in the water for the boat to move, you must immerse yourself in life to live it to the fullest. Your energy is contagious, and the energy you invest and share with others determines the quality of your life. When using the oar, there will be times when rowing is extremely hard and will require intense, powerful work. At other times, efficiency, the smarter, not harder approach, will be utilized in a calculated way to navigate through life. Our row the boat lifestyle is about two things: serving and giving. The oar allows us to share our program with our community, university, state, and country, and to let others know we're rowing with them. In our football facility and stadium, oars from everywhere hang on the walls. The beautiful thing is that each oar has its own story to tell. Every spring, we encourage our fans to drop off personalized oars that we hang in the tunnel of our stadium. These oars usually represent lost loved ones, adversity, illness, or other trying times. We hear a lot of stories that touch our hearts and impact our program. These oars, the energy from our community, are the last thing our players see as they take the field on game day. We also send out oars to people who let us know their stories, struggles, and battles. Each oar has a certain color that represents a particular challenge or cause. Pink oars are for breast cancer. Puzzle piece oars are for autism awareness. Red oars are for heart disease. We even have yellow oars for troops that come home to our community. We want our fans, community, alumni, and others to know that we're rowing right along with them and that people in our program can make a huge difference in the lives of others. The oar has become a powerful symbol of the energy we all possess to make a difference. Might need to hang an oar on my wall, we'll see. Okay, the boat. The boat represents sacrifice. This analogy is as simple as it gets. The more you serve, give, and make your life about helping others, the better and more fulfilled your life will be. The more you do this, the bigger your boat gets. Little boats don't go very far or carry many people. They sink in big storms. Big boats go a long way, carry more people, and can handle big storms. I've realized that when adverse situations happen in my life, the only way to truly feel any better is to serve and give somehow in some way. The more you sacrifice in your life and give to others, the stronger your life and boat become. Listening to, looking for, and lifting up those around you to make them better builds a stronger boat. Row the boat is not about focusing on yourself. It's about rowing through life to be great for others and to help others be their best. No one rows through life alone. So the boat represents a group of people all rowing together. When the group is rowing with a common focus, intention, mission, and purpose, the group becomes a team and the team becomes unstoppable. The more you serve others, the bigger your boat gets and the larger your team becomes. Your impact expands and more people will decide to row with you. This doesn't happen overnight, but as your boat and your impact grow, your life becomes more rewarding. We teach our players that they should never be a better football player than they are a person. Sacrifice is the key to fulfillment. That's very interesting. I just find that line very interesting. They should never be a better football player than they are a person. Also should go on my wall. Not the thing about the football player. Just, yeah. Okay, the compass. The compass is the direction, the beacon to help us take from where we are to where we dream of going. The vision we have for our lives, how we speak to ourselves, and the people we surround ourselves with help create this dream. If you want to be a doctor, tell yourself you can be a doctor and find a way to be around doctors. If you want to be a coach, tell yourself you can be a coach and get around coaches. If you want to heal from a hardship you're going through, tell yourself you can, and then spend time with others who have been through and overcome the same struggle. A boat race has a finish line you are rowing toward. In life, there is no finish line. The dream is the journey, and the journey is the dream. You have to just keep rowing. You don't get a perfect set of plans. Rather, life gives you a North Star and other people to join you on your journey. From mentors, you learn how to become who you want to be. From friends, you learn how to give and receive in a relationship. From those who are struggling, you learn how to practice empathy. From those who are enjoying success, you learn how to celebrate others. From those who want to give up, you learn how to give encouragement. From others' mistakes, you learn what you don't want. And from your heroes, you learn what you do want. The people in your life help point you in the direction you want to go. Wherever you are headed in life, you need direction, belief in yourself, and other people to help you get there. The compass is your tool to move forward on that path. So that goes along with you can learn something from everybody.
I'm amazed at how much I'm liking this book.
You know, I have to admit that when this was the decision that was made, I was not all in. And I was like, okay.
Even when you saw how little it was?
I know, but I was just like, I think I was having I'm John Gordon out moment. And but then that was one of those things where don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution. And I didn't have another book. I was like, so I don't want to do that when didn't count, when I wasn't something I wanted to do. It was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, I like it a lot. And
the thought of just giving, I don't know, sending out oars that represent something, even if they're just little bitty, I want to find them now and send them out to the team. And I don't know, I'm just really, really liking it.
So we read the book, The Carpenter. Were you on the book club when we were doing that?
No.
Okay, so.
What was the one about the bus? That's the first one I did.
The energy bus.
Okay, that's the first one I did.
But when we did The Carpenter, I liked that book so much that for Christmas, I got all 5 of my girls the hearts that you can get with that book and the book. Now, I don't get my kids books because they don't read them. But I gave them the book with the heart and I said, please just read it. And my one daughter is, she's not anti, how do I want to say this? She doesn't like church. Okay. She is not a churchgoer. She just, and so when she saw The Carpenter, she was like, really, Mom? I said, I'm not asking you to take it to Sunday school. I just want you to read the book. And so, yeah, but The Carpenter is a really good book. Melissa, you would really like it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. So, okay. One of the things I did for myself last year when I had a little extra money was bought the John Gordon box set on Amazon. I think it's like $100. And it took me a while because I don't spend that kind of money on myself ever. But I was like, oh, maybe I should. No, not. Maybe I should. No, not. And then I did. And I was so glad. Some of those.
I know Lori loves John Gordon.
Yeah. Well, and the little ones, like the thing about what's the one about the dog?
Feed the Positive Dog or something like that.
Positive Dog or something like that. And that was another one that I looked at and thought, seriously, we're going to do an adult book club on Feed the Positive Dog. It was so good. I don't know why I balk at John Gordon because they're always good. And I'm just like,
I like anything that's positive. I think we got enough negative in life. If I can do positive, I'll take it.
He is totally positive. That's for sure. Okay, chapter 7, the bigger opportunity and challenge. The row the boat principles are powerful. PJ utilized them to turn around the WMU football program and become a top team in the nation. At the Cotton Bowl, chants of "row the boat" coming from the WMU crowd, which outsold Wisconsin in tickets, brought it full circle. A community and fan base that once thought "row the boat" was just a slogan had now adopted it as a lifestyle. Oars, cardboard boats, compass signs, and a contagious spirit spread throughout the city like never before. People who once doubted, feared, and mocked "row the boat" now understood that if they changed their mindset, directed their energy toward one common goal, sacrificed and put others before themselves, led with purpose, and never gave up, they would accomplish something they never had before. That's quite the list, I'm just going to say. The 13-1 championship season and Cotton Bowl experience proved that the row the boat style could work in every area of life for players, coaches, business leaders, workers, and anyone else who applied its principles. I don't know why I don't turn that down before it gets started. It worked once in Kalamazoo, Michigan, but could it work at the Power 5 Big Ten level? As a result of this success, PJ was hired by the University of Minnesota to become their new head football coach. Minnesota was dealing with a player boycott and a sexual assault case at the time. Minnesota hadn't been to the Rose Bowl since 1962 and hadn't won a Big Ten championship since 1967. Everyone wondered if PJ could do what he did at Western Michigan again. Were he and Row the Boat just a one-hit wonder? Would Row the Boat also work at the University of Minnesota? Just because it worked at WMU didn't mean it would necessarily work again. It's hard to quantify and measure culture and principles. So many factors determine whether a team or organization succeeds. However, having worked with countless sports teams in college and pros and with numerous Fortune 500 companies, I can tell you that leadership, culture, values, and principles are what drives a team and organization to success. Great leaders who lead by a core set of principles and values and build a great culture create success wherever they go. Thus, if PJ and Row the Boat were a key part of an organization's success equation, we would see a pattern of success wherever PJ went. Did that happen at the University of Minnesota? PJ Fleck and Row the Boat would be put to the test. Let's find out how it went. So chapter 8 is rowing the boat at the University of Minnesota. This is a long chapter. Get a drink. Sit back, relax. Here we go. A culture in need of change. After the Cotton Bowl, I was getting ready to sign a new deal to keep me at WMU. Heather and I made a rule. We truly wouldn't consider taking a different job until after the Cotton Bowl. Many jobs did not like this because they wanted me to immediately start recruiting, fundraising, and team building. There was no way we were not going to coach in that bowl game. Our players and staff gave everything they had to get us to a special bowl game, and I needed to give them all I had and finish the season with them. We continued to row and coach our team for the biggest game of WMU's history. After the Cotton Bowl, I was asked where I'd be going after the game. I told everyone I was headed back to WMU, and that's what I intended to do. The schools that showed interest had hired their coaches already, and I came to the conclusion that we were to stay at WMU for a while. A few days later, I got a call from Mark Coyle, the brilliant AD at the University of Minnesota, asking if I was interested in a newly opened job in the Twin Cities. The job hadn't been available long, and I didn't know much about Minnesota, but I did know what happened and why the job was open. According to Mark Coyle, the culture needed to be changed, and I was his pick to get that done. As I previously mentioned, I define change and truth listening and culture as positively connecting with people. That's what I was being hired to do, truly listen and connect this team in a positive way with a new lifestyle approach of never giving up and serving and giving. I would find out the challenge would be very similar to years prior, but this time on a grander and more public stage. Prior to taking the job, Heather asked me 2 questions. First, are you ready for another year 1? When you're 13-1 in year 4, you sometimes forget that year 1-11 felt like. You knew you did it, but you sometimes forget the daily row and storms that came your way. The past is fogged out by recent success. Sorry, got other things happening here. Second, Heather asked me, does it scare you to go to Minnesota? She had asked me this question for other jobs as well, but this answer was very different. I didn't want my next job to be just a job. I wanted it to be more of a calling. I needed it to be a place where we could create a life, not just make a living. I wanted it to be a place where we could make an impact that would be legendary both on and off the field. I wanted to unite our program, players, and staff with our city and affect people of all ages, even the ones who weren't interested in football. I wanted our city to feel like it was their program and grow to love our Row the Boat culture and admire how we changed our lives on and off the field. I wanted to be the coach who could bring what our alums deserve so much, championships. So my answer to Heather's question, does Minnesota scare you, was absolutely. She followed it up with, then we're going to Minnesota. You will make your biggest impact where it will be the hardest. When having this conversation with Heather, the cadets' prayer came to mind. Mike Sullivan, my offensive coordinator when I coached for the Tampa Bay Bucks, used to recite it to our team. Make us to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong, and never to be content with half-truth when the whole can be won. The Minnesota football team was divided. Row the Boat was coming to connect everyone. Minnesota's football program is actually one of the most storied in college football, claiming 7 national championships and 18 Big Ten championships. However, Minnesota's last Big Ten championship was in 1967, 13 years before I was even born. That's depressing. The last national championship was in 1960. The one and only Heisman Trophy was won by Bruce Smith, not the defensive end from the Buffalo Bills, but a halfback from 1941. I was going to connect this ski-u-ma tradition with the present and restore Minnesota to what it could be. You can start to see a familiar pattern. It was my kind of job, but everyone around me was telling me to wait for a better job. There were so many things that hadn't been accomplished in a very long time at Minnesota. Some would call this hard, risky, and a questionable move. However, people are what make the right place, the kind of people who stop making excuses. I was going to bring in people who focus on how they could do something instead of why they couldn't do it. The type of people who transform teams, organizations, communities, and cities. Row the Boat would now be able to reach millions instead of hundreds of thousands and have the opportunity to make a greater impact, touch more lives, and influence a major city. Another year one to dig. In my first team meeting, with the majority of the players connected through Facebook Live, I'm not sure how many actually wanted to be there. All the year one memories flood my brain. This is what Heather meant about year one. These players didn't care if I was a 2-time coach of the year in the MAC or had just led one of the most historic seasons in college football for a team not part of the Power 5. They didn't care about the highest GPA in WMU history and Row the Boat being a staple in changing a community. The team I was inheriting had just almost boycotted their bowl game. The team was divided and had many sides. Some wanted to boycott, others were indifferent. Some wanted change, others did not. They wanted to know why I was there, what I could do for them, and how this Row the Boat thing was going to affect their lives, period. The uphill battle was underway, again. It was time for another dig. We knew there would be an enormous number of challenges with what we were going to implement. We knew storms would come from players, opponents, faculty, administrators, alumni, donors, media critics, community, fans, and the old staff members inside the program trying to sabotage and influence the daily agendas and the current players so we couldn't succeed. Whether due to budgetary concerns, our drug testing policy, or that we asked players to sit up front in a class with a collared shirt to show professors who they were and actually cared what the instructors had to say, we knew there'd be critics of how we ran our program. We knew that having practice in the morning so our players could dedicate their afternoon to academics would ruffle feathers in the faculty. We knew that having Row the Boat as our new culture would make some fans, alumni, and supporters uneasy because our tradition was already established with Ski-U-Ma, our rally cry. We knew that with the recent wins Minnesota had, it would be hard to change players' perspectives because in a lot of their minds, they won 6 or 8 games a year and just won their bowl game. They had been threatening to boycott. Why change anything? I told our players in that first team meeting that I chose them. They didn't choose me. I made a promise to all of them that this culture would change their lives in a positive way, both on and off the field. And I borrowed a quote from the great Bo Schembechler and told them, those who stay will be champions. Can you guys talk for just a second?
I really loved the make us to choose the hard right decision instead of the easy wrong one. That was like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. He lost me a little bit afterwards, but I love that.
Yeah, that part of the like the prayer or whatever right there was just like, wow, okay. I mean, it kind of like, it just really hit me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the hard decision, you know, the right decision is the harder decision to do. And so it's just, and we're so programmed to do the easy.
It's interesting because my parents have been going through something with my brother, and they're like, we made wrong choices. And when they took them to a place, to get cleaned up, my dad said, he goes, why is it to do the right thing for your child is more heartbreaking than doing the wrong thing. And the moment he said that, I'm like, wow, that really shows you where they're at right now. And then when she read this, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just totally what my dad said.
Right.
I don't know, it was really crazy.
The other thing he said about not settling for a half truth when the whole truth can be one, because it's so easy to do just enough. Like it's so easy to tell somebody enough of the truth that they want to hear without telling them the whole truth, which might contain things that they aren't going to be so fond of.
Now that makes more sense to me when you say it like that. Yeah.
I have found that a lot, that it's much easier to just, tell somebody half of what is going on, and so you're not lying, because that's one of those that's one of those things where your answer, when they find out the rest of it and they say, why didn't you tell me? Well, you didn't ask.
Sometimes the whole truth can be convicting. So now I get
and it can be
that
very
saying.
uncomfortable for everybody. The whole truth can be uncomfortable for the person that is hearing it and the person that's having to say it, because I personally don't like to make people feel uncomfortable. So I would rather stop where we're all happy.
Right.
All right. So, well, welcome back, Jeff.
Oh, I was here. Tom started classes this week, and he has a Monday and Wednesday morning class. So I'm kind of like solo dog dad. Zeus is upstairs by himself. They eat about 10. He ended up getting home early. So I was instead of popping in and out, I was trying to be
right there.
Yes. It's funny because I usually try not to hurt people's feelings as well. But I get to a point with I'll get to a point with somebody if they just keep hammering, that it becomes like, really what I want to say is, all right, everybody duck, because I don't want to hit anybody with friendly fire, but somebody's getting at both barrels. And I get that honest. That's from my mother's side of the family.
Where that happens. Yeah. I think a lot of times that's where my biggest sarcasm comes in.
Oh.
Like your post this morning, I laughed so hard. If you guys have not seen Jeff's post this morning, please go look at it. Yes, he's talking about hospitals that are going to let their doctors and nurses go and let parents come in and work because they've done so much research on the internet that they know more than the doctors and nurses.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was hysterical. I was laughing pretty hard at that.
I was like, that's awesome. And it's so true. And I tell people all the time, especially my kids, they'll call and go, I'm feeling like this. And I'm like, do not get on WebMD. Don't do it. Because everything on WebMD, from a runny nose to internal bleeding, will kill you by the time it's over.
What is it about this age group that they feel like they can look everything up? It drives me crazy. Most doctors will give you a diagnosis and tell you, do not look it up on the internet.
Yeah.
You're going to get scared half to death. And
I used to work with a woman, and over the period of years that we worked together, she had 2 kids, I think. So when I first started working with her, she was, newly married, no kids. Well, she would always go to WebMD. So she'd be like on Web. She's like, I'm not feeling well. And I looked on WebMD. I'm like, let me guess. A spider laid eggs in your ear that is now causing cancer, and you've got 2 weeks left to live. Like the ridiculousness of self-diagnosis. Like it's always impending death when you go to WebMD.
Always. And I had I had a relative that in years past, because I was not born yet in 1967, Marcus Welby MD was one of the first really big medical shows where they brought a lot of illness on. You know, like Dr. Kildare, people were just in the hospital and they fixed them and they went home. But Marcus Welby MD, and plus you wanted to watch it because his assistant was just like the most gorgeous thing on TV anyway. So, but every week they would have some different horrifying illness, and within 2 days, this relative would have it.
Oh my.
And I mean, like literally, she would go to the hospital to have MRIs and brain scans and stuff because she was convinced that whatever, I've been feeling like that. I've been having those symptoms. And then the next week she'd be like, well, maybe that's what it is. So finally, they were not allowed to watch that show at their house, which, yeah. So it hasn't just been the internet. It happened before whenever they started diagnosing things on TV that, you know, just like, come on, guys. So, okay, setting the standard. Our team's reputation was important. Socially, we knew we had to change the mindset of how players looked at themselves off the field and how they were perceived on campus by faculty and other students. The new standards had to be set high enough in all 4 areas of our lives: academically, athletically, socially, and spiritually, to see who truly wanted to be there. Yet at the same time, we wanted to create the most optimistic, empathetic, creative player-led program we could put together. You have 1 year to set the standard of the culture, and that culture can never, ever be compromised. If a player missed class, he didn't play. It may sound harsh, but if we were ever going to get the right people to play in our program, they would have to value their whole life as a student athlete. How you do one thing is how you do everything, and you must do it all at an elite level. The standard was clearly set in all areas. Now it was time to row. One of the first people I met when I got to the University of Minnesota was a young man who has now become a household name, Casey O'Brien. I was sitting in my office shortly after arriving at UM when a knock on the door and a simple, "Hey, Coach Fleck, you got a second?" changed my life forever. I had no idea who this kid was. My first reaction to, wow, here's a kid on my team who's genuinely happy I'm here and has an energetic voice and a mission in life. I couldn't help wondering when more of these guys on our team would show up. But as we talked, I discovered he wasn't actually on our team. Damn, the one guy I could use as an example of how the aura and the energy was not even one of my players. But the good news was he wanted to be on the team. I couldn't say yes fast enough. This was the personality, the mental makeup, and the approach to life with which to build a culture and team. Lots of people each year want to join a football team at the Big Ten level, but Casey was different. His energy and optimism were contagious. I fell in love with his passion and spirit so fast, maybe because I was just looking for one person to buy in, and he was it. He knew all about us from WMU, and he knew a lot of the same people I knew as well. I asked Casey what position he wanted to play, and he said holder. I had never heard that one before. Holder, seriously? There had to be more to why he just wanted to be a holder. I realized that all the people Casey and I both knew were involved at children's hospitals. Why? Because Casey was a 2-time cancer survivor at the time, 5-time by his graduation in 2020. In that moment, I was talking to one of the players who would change my life forever and let me know by a wink from God that I was exactly where I needed to be. Whether we won or lost, God had us exactly where he needed us. Any doubts I had about taking this job ended right then. It took me 2 seconds to tell Casey O'Brien he was on the team. In that moment, I knew we were both called to be there. I found myself a rower, and the legacy of RTB and Casey O'Brien began that day. We finished the 2017 season 5-7 with 2 conference wins. The record wasn't as important as making sure our players knew that everything and anything we ever did as coaches and as a program was always for our players. We possibly could have won more games, but creating the culture was more important than winning, and we couldn't let anything compromise that. We hold our players to a high standard, not just because we want them to be elite players, but more importantly, we want them to become elite husbands, fathers, brothers, and sons one day. To beat teams that had 50 or more 4-star players while we only had 5 4-star players, our culture needed to be stronger than just our skill on the field. We had to recruit and develop overachievers. I knew that they were just right for us. I also called them rowers. We, R-O, capital W-E-R-S. Guys who would row the boat and help us create an elite program. 2018, our second year at Minnesota, was a make or break year for Row the Boat once again. Having only won 5 games without playing in a bowl game when they had won 8 games and a bowl game the year before I arrived made a lot of people question Row the Boat. It was going to be an important and challenging year. After a 5-7 start in year 1, we had to propel this program forward. We signed one of the highest ranked classes in Minnesota's history. The challenge was that most of the young players were going to have to play right away. We would end up being the youngest team in college football in 2018. This is not an ideal thing when it involves a lot of young men playing against grown men in the Big Ten. However, every single player on the field that year truly wanted to be there. You win a lot more with a team that wants and needs to be there instead of feeling like they have to be there. We knew we weren't going to be the strongest, fastest, or most experienced team in the country, so we had to give them something obtainable to reach. We told our team we needed to become the most mature team. We defined reaching maturity as the point when doing what you have to do becomes what you want to do. That's interesting. After a 3-0 start, we lost 4 straight games before defeating Indiana to stand at 4-4 on the season. Our next game was against Illinois, and on the week leading up to it, it was the deciding factor in how the rest of the season would play out. During the week, we held a funeral inside the TCF Bank Stadium. Nick Conley, one of our offensive linemen, had succumbed to his battle with cancer earlier in the season. Talk about a swing of emotions. Calm seas one day, hurricanes the next. One moment we were on top of the world from a win, the next we were having a funeral for one of our fallen brothers. Remember, these are young men, not adults dealing with this. Some say you remember the plays and wins the most in coaching. I don't agree with that. I remember the people, moment, and memories and what they taught me along the way. This team was about to fail the most to grow the most. The boat, along with its captain, was about to be tested with decisions that would change the course of our program. We were going to Champaign, Illinois for the 9th game of the year. We were big favorites in the Illinois game. With a win, we would be 5-4 with 3 games left and a bowl game within our sights. That game didn't go according to plan. We got beat at Illinois 55-31. It wasn't just a loss, it was a thumping. Our team was flat. We were just going through the motions on both sides of the ball and especially on defense. It made sense that Nick's funeral affected our team, but I saw something I hadn't seen before in my team that I was never going to accept quitting. I saw the team quit, and I knew at that moment a change of leadership was needed on the defensive side. The next day, I made a change to the staff on defense and promoted Joe Rossi to interim defense coordinator. Joe's one of the best coaches, fathers, teachers, and husbands I've ever met. I didn't know if the mood would be permanent. However, it was a way for me to see how the same defense that had been so successful in years past would play under new leadership. If the defense played poorly under Joe Rossi, then maybe it was time for a different defense scheme. If the defense improved, only a change in leadership was required. We would learn a lot in the next 3 weeks. After the Illinois loss, we crushed Purdue to improve our record to 5-5 and had a stellar defensive performance. We then lost to Northwestern, the Big Ten West champion that year, to move to 5-6 and now had to play Wisconsin at Camp Randall in Madison, where our program hadn't won since 1994. The University of Minnesota hadn't beaten Wisconsin anywhere for 14 straight years. So the task before us was not easy, but this is how legendary teams and programs start. Monumental wins create energy and enable the program to take off. If you don't get the big wins, it can lead to the boat sinking. When building a program, time is not a coach's best friend. Nowadays, if you don't turn around a program quickly, you may be quickly out of a job. Before the game, I knew I had to say something I had never said before. The talk had to be different. I had to make sure they knew we could win and should win, and they were the team to end the losing streak. I had to make sure they knew what this win would mean to our program, city, and state. When I arrived at Minnesota, all I was told was, "Coach, just beat Wisconsin and you can stay forever. Please get us the axe back." Excuse me. You could tell how thirsty our fans were to end the streak in college football's most played rivalry and bring Paul Bunyan's axe back to Minnesota. For those not familiar with the details of the Minnesota-Wisconsin rivalry, a 7-foot axe is the trophy awarded to the winner. So what did I say? To start with, right before we departed for Madison the day before the game, I gave each player making the trip a bottle of Axe body spray. I told them we would celebrate with it in the locker room after the game. Okay, I gotta get a drink. Excuse me. That's funny. I wanted them to believe they could get the win. I was preparing in the locker room before my talk to the team, and I kept going over what I wanted to say. I had it all written out, word for word. However, with 1 minute to go before I addressed them, I told myself to hell with it. I'm going to just tell them how I feel from my heart. That's when the words I had never said before came out. I told them, do not be afraid, men. Do not be afraid to become a legend. If we won this game, it would arguably mean more to our state, city, and university than anything we accomplished on the field in the past 25 years. To lose to your border state rival 15 years in a row and know that kids in our city who were 15 years old had never seen Minnesota beat Wisconsin would be legendary. Not only did our guys row the boat that day, but they rowed like they never rowed before. Victory would become ours. We will never forget that 37-15 victory in Camp Randall Stadium being empty with the exception of Gopher fans with time still on the clock. We spent about an hour on the field celebrating with the Axe together. When we got to the locker room, all of the players jubilantly sprayed their Axe body spray in the air. Oh, that had to stink. Yeah. In the air, yes. It was the smell of victory and one that will always be remembered by our staff and players on that team. Lost in all the excitement, we had won our 6th game and become bowl eligible. Wisconsin was who we were wanting to become. Barry Alvarez created something at Wisconsin that was very special. Years ago, I asked Barry a question at an AFCA convention when I was a first-year head coach at WMU. How did you do it at Wisconsin? He said simply, we stopped making excuses. Noted, no excuses, only reasons why we can, not why we can't. We became legends for that day and cemented our place in the Gophers history books with that monumental streak-ending win. It was our turn to have the Axe back, and we shared it with the entire state. Over the next year, the Axe was rented out daily for birthday parties, weddings, anniversaries, parties, and alumni events. It was once again ours. We reached maturity toward the end of the year, and Joe Rossi was hired as our new defensive coach in the locker room right after that win. The win at Wisconsin, combined with a quick lane bowl championship over Georgia Tech, was a fitting end to a roller coaster year with the youngest team in the country. It was very clear the foundation of Row the Boat at Minnesota had hardened. Rest or action, the framework. That should be good. Our 3rd year at Minnesota, 2019.
Hang on a second, Jenny.
Okay.
So the no excuses, only reasons why we can, not why we can't. Wow.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, that just say, I mean, we always hear no excuses, but pairing it with the reasons why we can, not why we can't, it was just like, okay. It just hit home.
Yeah, just don't go there because it's,
Right.
And you guys know from, well, just from living with other people, but having teams or people, on your teams, it's so much easier for people to come up with reasons why you can't do something than why you can. And I don't care what it is. If it's anything from you guys need to do the dishes, my girls could come up with 132 reasons why they couldn't do them right then.
Mhm.
And none of them were valid because because the shower was still going to be there after the dishes were done. And for some reason, nobody wanted to do homework until after dinner and it was time to do the dishes. Then all of a sudden, everybody had homework that had to be done and stuff. So yeah. And I was like, no, you know what? You can do this. Like at one point, and I never really realized that that was kind of what I was doing because I wasn't into all this stuff. I was just trying to get through life. But the one time I can remember there was this big thing about they had to clean their room. It had to happen. And my oldest daughter, she was like, I can't. I have to have this book read by tomorrow morning. And I said, okay. And I sat on her bed and I read her the book while she cleaned. She was like,
Love it.
She goes, Mom, I'd know it better if I could read it. She goes, you could clean my room. I said, I didn't make your room a mess. I said, and I like listening to the book, so we're good. I said, if you miss something, let me know. I'll go back and reread it. It's okay.
That plan backfired.
Right.
Yep. So, okay. All right. Our 3rd year at Minnesota, 2019, would go down in the history books as one of the greatest seasons in Gopher history for a lot of reasons. We used the concept rest oration. Oh, that's cute. Because we thought this team could bring back the winning feeling the Gopher football fans and alumni had in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Coming off a 7-6 record and a bowl victory over Georgia Tech, the internal pressure and expectation was high with mostly everyone coming back. However, the predictions from the media and experts had us picked as low as 6th in the West, and for good reason. We were still going to be one of the youngest teams in America and had not won a championship in over 50 years. However, we would not let someone else tell us how far our boat could go. It didn't matter what they thought. What mattered was what we believed and did. We had dreams, hopes, and aspirations of winning it all. We were doing everything at a national championship level, period. The season was a test of how much we had learned about rowing the boat, and the test came quickly. We were supposed to win the first 3 games by double digits, yet we won all 3 by a combined total of 13 points and needed to row the boat in every way. After a come-from-behind victory over SCS powerhouse South Dakota State in our opener, we traveled to Fresno State. The year prior, we beat them in a hard-fought game on a last-second interception in the end zone by Antoine Winfield Jr., who in 2021 got his team to row in the end zone during the Super Bowl after he recorded an interception that sealed the victory. We would beat Fresno State in a similar fashion this year. We had a 4th and goal from the 17-yard line and had to score a touchdown just to send the game into overtime. With seconds to spare, our 3rd wide receiver that season, Chris Autumn Bell, caught a perfect vertical route thrown by Tanner Morgan to send the game into overtime. In the second overtime, Antoine Winfield Jr. intercepted a pass to end the game. It was like deja vu. The following week, we returned to TCF Bank Stadium to play Georgia Southern. Late in the game, we faced a 3rd and 30 from our own 6-yard line. We were down by 4 points with just 2:54 left in the game. Talk about a storm and rocky sea with the boat struggling to stay afloat. It was time for one of our less heralded players to make an impact. Demetrius Douglas, who ran a hitch route, caught the ball and ran for a gain of about 22 yards. Now it was 4th and 8. If we didn't get this next first down, the game was over and we would lose to Georgia Southern. At this time, most of the crowd had left because in their mind, there was no possible way we could pick up 3rd and 30. The old-timer fans were thinking about the past and how the Gophers never win these games. But this team was different. This team knew how to keep rowing. We got the first down, and then after a few more plays with 10 seconds to go, Tyler Johnson caught a fade in the end zone to win the game for the Gophers. Winning this game might have seemed impossible for most, but not for the row the boat culture. We were never out of it as long as we kept our oar in the water. I have that 3rd and 30 picture in my office at work at home to remind me that you are never out of it. After 3 consecutive thrilling wins, the boat reached some calmer waters. We handily won 5 straight Big Ten games in a row. You could see the connectivity and love within this team grow. This set up the most epic game in TCF Bank Stadium history. The Penn State game was one of the highlights, if not the pinnacle of my career to date in terms of winning a football game. Both teams were nationally ranked in the top 15. Both teams were 8-0. It was the first sold-out crowd in close to 10 years for the Gophers. The night before the game, I had each player use a silver Sharpie to write on a piece of coal the worst thing that happened to them in their lifetime, similar to what I did when I was at WMU, and asked the players to write on a golf ball. I again gave them only 15 seconds to write because if you think too much about it, it doesn't transform you. Once all the cool pieces were written on, I had the players place them in a clear bucket and sent them to bed for the night. Before the game, during the pregame speech, I explained the science of how diamonds were made from the pressure of coal. How everything they had overcome makes them their best self, diamonds. I reached deep down into the bin and pulled out a huge diamond, plastic of course, but it looked real, and told them to go be diamonds today. The game was a heavyweight matchup. We tested each other's resolve, rowing ability, persistence, response, and togetherness. We won the game when our true sophomore safety, Jordan Howden, intercepted a pass in the final seconds to secure the victory. What's great about Jordan ending the game with an interception in the end zone was that the year prior, he was forced into starting due to an injury, and it didn't go well for Jordan. He failed over and over again, but he never quit, never took his oar out of the water. He went from failing a ton in 2018 to learning from it and becoming a huge success in 2019. Learning from your past to create your future is critical to building successful teams in sports and business. Fans, alum, and families all stormed the field after the game. It was the first of our 2 wins against a top 10 team, and it was the first time we beat 2 top 10 teams in the same season since 1956. That was before I was born, just saying. It was a moment I had dreamed of, and one of the greatest moments I've had on the field as a coach. In the locker room afterward, we went to a bin of coal. I reminded them that the hardships in their own life and football life had made this moment possible. I reiterated that for diamonds to become diamonds, they need extreme pressure, and told the men you were diamonds today, and you will be forever because you now row through your obstacles in life. We finished the regular season 10-2 with a share of the Big Ten West Division title. But Wisconsin beat us and won the Axe back in the last game of the season, where we hosted ESPN's College Game Day. It wasn't the way we wanted it to end, but we were invited to play in the Outback Bowl against Auburn, who had just beaten Alabama a few weeks before. We saw this game as an experience that would prepare us to play for a national championship down the road. This was our time to show that we could beat one of the best traditional programs in the country on a national stage. We were about 10-point underdogs entering the game. One of our best defensive linemen was out with a broken leg, and Auburn's first-round defensive lineman opted to play. This was going to be a huge challenge for us. Our offensive coordinator left us to take the OC job at Penn State prior to the bowl game, so some of our staff were doing things for the first time, like interim offense coordinator Matt Simon. The message all week was that it would take all of us and all of our best performances as coaches and players to win this game. The game was tight, and like many of our games that year, it came down to the last possession. We took the ball over with just under 9 minutes left in the game and never gave it back to them. There was a 4th and 1 call near the end of the game. If we got the first down, we'd almost be assured victory. But if we didn't get it, they would get the ball with an opportunity to tie the game in the final minute. I heard the call come over the headset from Matt Simon, and I immediately called a timeout. The call was for a play-action pass to a tight end who hadn't caught a pass all regular season. Bryce Whitman, had played a lot of football for us, but had battled injury after injury. In the most important call all year, when we needed only 1 yard, were we going to throw the ball to a guy who hadn't caught a pass that season? I asked Matt, "Is this what you want? Are you sure?" Matt immediately replied, "Absolutely." When I heard that said with extreme conviction, I asked our team if we wanted to go for it. Without hesitation, they too said, "Absolutely." After that, there was no way we wouldn't get that first down. We had come too far not to finish it. This had become a player-led elite team right before our eyes. The play worked, and Bryce Whitman caught the ball that was thrown behind him with one hand to move us closer to victory. After picking up one more first down, the game was over. It took us all rowing the boat in the same direction with the same speed and efficiency to beat a heavyweight like Auburn with more than 50 four-star recruits and numerous first-rounders, and we did it. For those 3 hours on that day, we were the better team. When we restored the winning football tradition at Minnesota, that 2019 team accomplished 82 firsts in 130-year history, including AP Top 10 to win a bowl game, won the Outback Bowl, 7 Big Ten wins, highest rank in CFP poll history, 53 academic All Big Tens, 17 players named All Big Ten teams, 86 players above a 3.0. Along with 116 restorations, started season 9-0 for the first time since 1904, won 4 Big Ten games by at least 20 points, first time since 1934, won January 1 bowl game, first time since 1962, won 2 games against top 10 opponents, first time since 1956, 10 regular season wins, first time since 1905, 11 win season, first time since 1904, finished ranked in top 10, first time since 1962, and highest in season rank, number 7, for the first time since 1962. This team was one for the ages, a team that rode their way to victory so many times because they didn't give up. They rode together through chaos and did it for so many reasons, including themselves. Casey O'Brien guided the leadership on how to row, not only by surviving cancer for the 5th time, but by fulfilling his dream of playing in a college football game when he entered the game against Rutgers as the holder. The one player who first believed in Row the Boat led us the entire year with his personal battle, showing us all how to row the boat. Okay. I don't think we should read another chapter just because people are going to get too far behind, but that was really good.
That was good.
That's a lot of firsts. 1904 was a long time ago. Also before I was born.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yes, no problem. No problem.
Before me too.
Good job. So how do you guys, where do you think that you could apply this most? Would it be family, business, personal life? I mean, like there are, like he said, there's four different things: your professional, your personal. Well, my athletic ability, I don't think I'm going to work on it with my athletic ability a whole lot, just because it seems like if I could focus on the spiritual, personal, and outside thing, that would, the
That's
athletic
enough.
thing would, yeah, the athletic thing would just take away from the effort I could put in the other three.
It would become a distraction for
It
so
would,
many.
it would, because I mean, can you guys imagine if I like became an all-pro football player next year and, you know,
I'd like to see
caught
that.
the winning
That would be
touchdown for-
awesome. We could say we knew you.
I
The
know.
next summer Olympics, there's Jenny out there playing sandball.
But you see, here would be the theory. All those guys, all those college guys would be going, you can't tackle the old lady, just leave her alone. I can't throw my grandma to the ground.
Do you know what happens if you break her hip? You can't do it.
We all have to go visit her in the nursing home for the next 40 years. So see, I am doing everybody a favor by not going there.
You're assuming that chivalry and empathy is not
True,
a
true.
good thing.
Right.
Well, yeah, but you know.
Well, yeah.
I will say though, my husband and I started bicycling this summer. Just he wanted to, and he got me a really nice bike, and I'm like, this is going to be a waste of money. But I'm actually really enjoying it. But there is this one hill at the end of the thing that literally the first 8 times we did it, I'm like, yep, I can't do that. So I just get off and walk up. Well, the
I'm
one
out.
day, my foot got caught and I almost went over an embankment.
Oh no.
And I'm like, I better start trying to ride up that. So every time, no matter how, because we're doing like 9 and 10 miles, and I make it
Wow.
up every time. And it is an awesome feeling. I will give it that. So it may be very slow, but I do get up it. So I can see where you can apply it to everything. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool that you got up there. I know, I used to be like that even when I was younger on a bike. I'd look at a hill and go,
yeah, no, I don't want to do that.
No excuses, only reasons why
Yeah.
you can.
And the reason why I can now is because I am too old to be falling over sideways on top of my
It was the lesser of two evils, right, Melissa? It's either my
Why could you
thighs
do
or,
that?
I
Because
end
the
up out of
alternative
breath
is
and
worse.
feeling like I'm gonna die, but my
or
bones are all
literally
okay.
being half dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Better half dead than broken things.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
breaking things at any age is not good, but there does become a point where breaking things is just not a good idea at all.
No,
It's
right.
not, no. Although, but you know, like, was it 2 years ago that Pam's mom fell and
Yeah.
broke her, she didn't break her leg, she broke her knee, which she like broke her kneecap. And she was 89 years old, 88. And we were all like, you know, she never flinched. She spent a couple days saying that hurts, you know, but when they came in to get her up to use that walker and when they started doing therapy and stuff, she never one time said, I can't do that, or it hurts too bad. Her whole thing was, well, this is how I'm going to walk again. This is how I'm going to walk again. And she just did it. They were so, even the people at the rehab place were just so amazed. They're like, we took her down there and handed her the walker and she got up and put some pressure on that leg and made a face and then kept going.
Aw.
And even now she goes for a walk every day as long as the weather's, as long as it's not raining and stuff. And she'll say now, the more I walk, the less my leg hurts.
That's
And I'm like,
awesome.
there you go. You know,
Good for her.
I know. She is totally an I can kind of person. If somebody would give her keys to a car, she would drive again. I'm telling you right now.
I
She
did
was
a
Not
couple of-
necessarily good, but she would drive.
You know? Yeah, but there's 20-year-old people with that problem, so it has
No
nothing to
doubt.
do with
That's true.
anything else. Yeah.
No
Well, Melissa,
doubt.
if you see Pam's mom coming at you, jump over that embankment.
She'll be fine. No. No, she even says now that she goes, I wouldn't want to drive. you know. But, and my car absolutely fascinates her because there's no key, you push the button,
Right.
which is kind of like a throwback to 1924, I'm sure. It's, you know.
Again, you weren't born then.
Yeah. Well, I've seen pictures.
I've seen pictures. I've heard stories
I've heard stories.
from my elders.
And my older sister.
We're born then, yes. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for getting on. And,
Thank you.
yeah. Make sure you
Thanks
tell
for reading.
Ellen how awesome it was while she was
Of
looking.
course.
While she was looking at the monkeys and the snakes, and while it was too
I was
hot.
gonna say, I'll text her right now and say, I'm hot, and book club was good.
Tell her we were all hot.
Let's all text her and tell her we're hot.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome. I don't have her
I'm doing
number.
it right now.
Somebody send me her number. I'll do it. You know I
I'll
will.
do it. I will do it. I will send you her number. Do you have an iPhone that I can just share the contact, or do I have to share
Yes.
it? with you? Yes. Okay.
She'll be like, oh, they must be done with book club. Oh, we're still recording.
Yeah, she'll look at her clock and be like, yeah, they're done.
I always have to be careful when I do this. I'm gonna stop the recording.
I was just going to say we should probably stop recording.